And running, and Villa Pod is loud.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the legend himself, George Fowler. How are you doing, mate? Especially after yesterday's disappointment.
Yeah, hello, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing last night, but today's a new day. Weekend's a new weekend, and Chelsea away, and I'm going down there. So let's hope we can get a good result.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And one thing about being in Europe and playing all these games, like the games coming thick and fast, is if you do get a disappointing result, you can there's it's not too long to wait for another game to kind of turn it back around.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, this is what we've wanted, isn't it? All these years to get back in the big time and that. And as you say, the games come thick and fast now, so you can't sort of dwell too much on a defeat. You've just got to crack on, and it's another big one Sunday.
Exactly. Well, we'll get into that. We'll cover yesterday a little bit. I did a bit of a kind of, not a rant, but just a little my thoughts on last night's game. Only a 10-minute vid before earlier on today. So do catch that if you haven't already. But we will get your thoughts on it as well, mate. And then we'll get into kind of Chelsea's team, who we think their danger men are. They spent a lot of money. And who we think might start. Is there anyone that's played their way into the team from last night's performance? We'll go through our predicted lineups. We'll talk stats, a few stats on Villa Chelsea, and then get predicted score lines in. So plenty for you guys to get involved in the comments. We are literally 2 subscribers away from 2,400. So Mark, I know he's in the chat. He can get another graphic set up very, very soon. But yeah, 2 away from 2,400. So guys, please hit that like button. Help us spread the word of the channel. And if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, then please do hit that subscribe button. And if you do want to become a member for just $1.99 a month and become an official Villa Park Pod follower, then just click the join button or the $sign at the bottom of the chat and follow the instructions. Loads in the chat already. So let's have a look who's in. Adamski is in. Hello, mate. Duncan's in. Great to have you on board. As I said, Mark's in the house. Good evening, Mark. Steve 24/7's in. Good evening, fellas, and the chat. Hopefully we'll get plenty of comments in. Deontay's in. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing very well as well. Gary said, "Hi guys, I take Legia loss if we beat Chelsea." Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Mark said he's on it. Good man. Well, I'll let you know, mate. I'll keep you posted. Dunk said Duran and Zaniolo were good again. The defense selection didn't work. Easy to say in hindsight, to be fair. Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. And Adam's in the house. Evening, mate. Great to have you in. So, yeah, obviously I gave my thoughts, and I'll chip in a bit in a second once we've got yours. But obviously Duncan there saying Duran and Zaniolo were decent. Defense selection, obviously, yeah, by the looks of it, in hindsight, really didn't work, and maybe that midfield selection didn't work. But George, what were your views on yesterday's game?
Yeah, it was just a bit of a disappointment all round, really, wasn't it? I just think that I don't know. Did after how we smashed Hibs so comfortably in the qualifier, did they just sort of think, oh, is the mentality a bit wrong? Did we think, oh, maybe we're a bit we just turn up in these European games? Emery wins all the European Cups, so we can just turn up and win. I mean, it certainly didn't turn out that way. I just thought there was lack of urgency, lack of concentration, and we were saying in the chat, Rich, it just appeared that it was just a lazy performance, wasn't it? The Legia players were first to every ball, the crowd were up, and I just don't think we ever really got to grips with the game. At no stage did I ever really feel that we were in control of it. I did think at half time, I thought when we got in at half time, I thought, right, Emery can get in and have a chat with the boys now and get into them. And I did fully expect us to come out second half and take control of the game, but it wasn't us, it was them that done that. And yeah, they were well worth the win in the end, and we'll have to lick our wounds.
Yeah, it was so strange because we had I guess, yeah, he made his changes. Longley came in, Chambers came in, and there's obviously going to be one or two sort of teething problems with making those changes at the back and bringing Longley in for his first game. Chambers hasn't played for a while, but what struck me was the lack of organisation at the back in terms of, yes, we played the same way without necessarily the pace at the back, but also when we were going forward, it seemed like both kind of holding midfield players in Tielemans and Kamara were pushing themselves forwards and getting forward, and one of them wasn't necessarily being as disciplined. But that might not matter so much if you were controlling the play. But every time we gave the ball away, it just seemed like one pass from them, and then they were through. And I couldn't believe how naive we were with that kind of setup. And sure, I saw obviously pictures of Emery going crazy on the sideline. Obviously, you can't stop people from giving the ball away, but it just seemed like he was getting so annoyed with, maybe it's the naivety of the way that we were playing, but it was like a square pass goes across, they intercept it, one pass, and they were through on us, and it just seemed really strange.
Yeah, it was just an annoying night, really, wasn't it? You just kept thinking, right, lads, learn from that one, learn from that one, learn from that one, but they never did they? I mean, Luca Dean just kept getting done this over and over again in the same fashion as he often does. Just switches off for a second, and before you know it, we're in trouble. And it just, yeah, it was just, I really a bit struggling to explain what happened. Really, I mean, fair play to them. I thought they were pretty good, to be fair, and yeah, maybe we did underestimate them. They got a very good home record, and fair play to them. We're obviously not going to have it all our own way in this group.
Exactly. With regards to that, obviously we'll talk a couple of players in a second in leading on to the Chelsea game, but I mean, I guess if there's any sort of positive in terms of the result to take, it's the fact that it was the first game, and there's 5 more games in this kind of group stage to go. So there's going to be probably a lot of twists and turns to come.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we was probably, when the groups come out, we was probably looking at Alkmaar and Warsaw as probably the 2 threats. And I saw that Alkmaar blew a 3-0 lead last night and lost to the Bosnian side. So it's hard to say now what's going to happen in this group. Maybe the Bosnian side could be a bit of a wild card. But yeah, there's plenty of time left. I mean, you kind of trust Villa at home these days, which I never thought I'd ever say, but I'm starting to. And the next home game, hopefully we'll be able to right the wrong of last night and get 3 points on the board. Who is the first home one, Rich?
It's that Bosnian side.
It's them, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. You trying to stitch me up there? I don't know.
I wasn't, mate.
I'll try and see if I can get the name of them, pronounce it. Just bear with me. What are they called? Zrinski Mostar.
It's easy for you to say, Rich.
Exactly. But yeah, a few comments coming in that regards last night. Adam says, surprised with how poor McGinn was, and why did we play so slow even when we were down? And Hot Take Hyler said, Watkins and Duran together could be an idea. Looked good against Palace, and perplexing that Emery didn't try it yesterday. Adamski said, Brighton did the same, but at home. So it's not that bad as we will destroy them at Villa Park. Well, let's hope so. Dunk said, good learning curve for the players in Europe. Well, that's what we hope. And they did look leggy. Yeah. Steve 24/7 said, gaps everywhere was a little alarming. Gary said, think it's the inexperience of not playing in Europe for a while. Look at Brighton. These teams like Legia play in Europe every year. Adam says, even with that team we put out, we should be winning, but everyone definitely underestimated them. Ahmed said we will go through no problem, so still fairly confident. Ethan, I'll come to that comment a little later. In terms of the redevelopment and some of those things we will cover on the fans forum, which we do on Monday night. So that's to enter for any of the kind of off the field, on the field, different things that we're covering across the club that we do in our fans forum. Gary said, got to win the group to avoid playing Europa teams in the playoff. Yep, that's what I mentioned in my little roundup before earlier today. Adamski said Digne has actually been rubbish in a couple of matches we won, but no one talked about it because he gets an assist. Few people said he's played really well. Ahmed said lost the game because of Chambers. And yeah, Adamski said Brighton looked playing awful, looked 10 times better than we did. I saw some of that game, but I take everyone's points. I think part of it was maybe a naivety in Europe, George, like just us maybe not being experienced. Like you said before, Legia have played in those types of games before, not lost in 20, 26, 27 games at home. And, you know, I think hopefully it's one of those that they take on board, they learn from it, and they go into winning the next couple of games and just take the pressure off a little bit. But, you know, some of the players, and I'll come to them now, like, you know, the likes of a Tielemans, the likes of a Chambers, maybe Longley, who's, you know, probably got a bit of a baptism of fire. But yeah, some of them really need to step up, because you mentioned it. You know, Tielemans in particular was, you know, saying he needed a start, saying he needed, you know, he wanted to get involved in the game and be involved more in the games, and he didn't cover himself in glory last night. Although I do think he was probably slightly better out of the two starting central midfielders in Kamara, which we'll come on to soon as well.
Yeah, neither of them were too good, to be fair. I think with Tielemans, he seems to lack a bit of discipline, doesn't he? Sort of when it's going against you. I thought he hid a little bit last night. He was okay, but you know, if he come out in the media the other week, you know, we had a good chat about it last week.
We did.
If you're gonna start giving it the big one, you need to, you know, produce something to tell the fans and tell Emery, you know, I should be starting in this team. I don't think he covered himself in glory last night. As for Kamara, yeah, he's not quite going his way at the moment. I mean, I think I am actually his biggest fan. I love him when he's on song. I think he's a terrific player. But yeah, this season it's just he hasn't quite sort of got going yet, has he? And hopefully this weekend could be the weekend where he finally his season really gets started for us.
Yeah, it just seems like he's been asked to do a slightly different job, or maybe a couple of different jobs, because the other day he was dropping into like the central defence to make three at the back, whereas yesterday he was kind of asked to push further forward. And whether he's just like caught between a rock and a hard place and just kind of
Maybe.
wants to be stuck in, you know, just in that disciplined position, but it just seemed to me like he was getting pulled all over, and then he was just walking it in the end, like, and you're not going to endear yourself to the fans if they see you walking about the pitch. Like that's the last thing that you can start doing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was what beat us yesterday, was the intensity and the effort. You know, we just didn't match Legia's, and yeah, you know, there's no excuse for not putting it in on the pitch, is there? And yeah, I don't know, mate. Yeah, it's a little bit alarming. We seem to have been like this in most of the away games this season. You know, we're shipping too many goals away from home. That's another 3 last night, 3 at Liverpool, 5 at Newcastle. You know, you can't be going on like that throughout the season. And maybe we'll need to sort of get back to basics and just try and shut up shop a bit more in the away games before, you know, trying to implement our own style on the game.
Yeah. Talking about the away games and the way that we're playing, would you anticipate Emery? I mean, Adamski said he's taken the blame there, so obviously he's looked at the tactical setup and said that he was wrong. But do you see him making any sort of tactical changes for Chelsea on Sunday?
Well, I'm not sure, because I mean, what I just said there, it didn't. All right, the two defenders, Chambers did look well short yesterday, and just, you know, just he hasn't played a lot of football, has he? And Langley literally just arrived. But for me, it wasn't really the personnel. It was just a lack. It just felt like a lack of effort for me, and a lack of, like, you know, just wake up and sort of concentrate. I think we've got good players, so tactically, I mean, we've been okay, haven't we? We know what we're doing, but I don't know. Will he just sort of try and get out of Chelsea with a clean sheet? I'm not sure, mate. What do you reckon on that?
It's weird, because looking at the tactics that he's employed this season, it would suggest that he won't. He's going for games and he's trying to control them more and trying to make us more attacking.
I'm
You
not
know,
sure that's working for us, though, mate. Is
you
it?
know exactly. He's wanting the players to push to kind of compete at that level.
Too
So
quick.
yeah, maybe it is, but like last season like you either go one or two ways, don't you? Like last season away from home, we'd get the first goal, or we'd go for, or we'd kind of be really really solid, and then try and play for like a break, or try and play for a set piece or something like that, and then get a lead, and then try and cling on to it for dear life. Whereas this season, we're going after games a bit more, and maybe it's going to be more. Give us more control, like the likes of Burnley and those types of teams, and we'll kind of win fairly comfortably. But against those top teams, it's going to be we could be on the end of some beatings. Now, whether you include Chelsea in that top team bracket, I don't know, because they've not had a great start to the season. They don't seem to be scoring too many goals, so it's gonna be interesting. But I'm with you. I don't think he'll necessarily go back to that kind of organized, hard to break down. I think he's going to try and go for that, more free flowing, riskier football. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like last year, some of the away games, I kind of liked his. It was almost like a horses for courses approach. It wasn't so much, oh, we've got a philosophy, we play like this. That Tottenham away performance last year when I was down there, I thought we were brilliant. Like you say, defended like a classic British side. Put our heads on the line, hearts on the line, and stuff. I just think sometimes you've got to respect the opposition. Even the Chelsea one last year was kind of the same, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Took once, and then the last half hour we completely took over the game once we scored. But yeah, it feels a little bit naive so far. Maybe we're not quite as good as what we thought we might have been.
Yeah, and you're right. The intensity, like if he's expecting the players to do that, they've got to go out of the game with an intensity. And it seems like we've gone back to that closing down in ones and twos rather than hunting in packs. And it's almost like the players are caught between, like I say, two styles. Like, do they press, or do they try and hold back and intercept? And it seems like they're just caught between the two. But yeah, as I say, it's gonna be interesting. I'll go through a few comments, and then we'll touch on a couple of players that did make their returns, yesterday. So whether they would be likely to get a start. Alan Evans says Emery gave squad players a chance, and they can't do the basics. Kamara poor this year. Tielemans sloppy. Dino a ball watcher. Watkins first touch crap. Duran getting better every game. And positives Ramsey up the Villa. Ahmed said their first goal was shocking from our point of view. Sahel says defending this season has been horrendous. Can't disagree with you there, looking at the goals that we've conceded. Adamski said, was it a mistake to loan out our best youth and play rusty players like Chambers? Thing is, the youth players would have been rusty anyway, so it's you at some point you've got to give them a game. It's just whether that was the right opportunity, whether being at home against the Bosnian side would have been a better option. Who knows?
It's
We'll
one of
know
them,
after
isn't it?
Sunday.
I mean, if we if say we'd played the full strength team yesterday and got the result, but then went to Chelsea on Sunday and got beat, everyone's going to say you should have rested a few in the Europa game. So you can't really win, can you? Unless you win both of the games and come out with flying colours. But
Exactly. Gary said, never seen Emery lose his rag like that on Thursday. Maybe the pressure's getting to him. Already lost more this year than last season. Interesting. Adam said that Arsenal Emery would have big patches where at home they were brilliant, but poor away. Hopefully it's not catching. Well, he sticks to a philosophy, as you said, George, and sometimes it works and you go on big runs. Sometimes it doesn't, and that can affect. Duncan's very confident that we can get a win at Chelsea. Hot take Hyler says the Mings ACL should be the picture under the encyclopedia entry spanner in the works.
yeah,
It's
no
that
doubt
big a
about
deal,
that.
unfortunately. Hopefully we can find a way. Just on that, with regards to Mings as well, he was such a talker for us, and I'm worried that we haven't got any other talkers in the team. Like yesterday, like you needed someone just to pull the players together and just say, like, come on, like just knuckle down, start rollicking a few people, start telling people just get the foot on the ball, getting into position, start closing down, just doing the basics. And there was no one there kind of crying, screaming out to the players just to do the basics and just almost take the game into their own hands, because for all intents and purposes, Emery can't. Then they can't just do everything that Emery says. Like in the game, there's different situations that crop up that you have to kind of like think on the spot. And there's no one, from my perspective, on the pitch telling people what to do. I can't imagine Kamara and Tielemans like pulling people together and shouting at people. I can't imagine, Duran doing it. McGinn's not like that. So who's on the pitch? Like, who's that leader?
Yeah, fully agree, Rich. I just wonder if Mings hadn't have got injured, if Mings had got injured a bit earlier, would he have let Ashley Young go as well? Because you had two of them in that team, in that defence last year, barking the orders, and it looked a lot more disciplined and a lot more organised than what we're seeing now. I mean, now you're looking at Pau Torres, brand new player, Diego Carlos, brand new in the team because he missed the whole of last year. You've now got a new signing in Longley. That's a lot of changes to your team, isn't it? Players that are there
and players that don't know each other yet as well, and it's going to take a bit of time. But I'm still worried as to who those players are that he's brought in that are real talkers or real shouters. That's one thing I've never really been impressed with Villa at. Like we've never bought a destroyer in the centre of the park or obviously Duran looks like a big presence up front, which is brilliant. Like, look at the effectiveness he has, but like think of that person in midfield, especially in games like that. But, why didn't we give away hardly any fouls yesterday? Like just someone to put one on one of their players, take a yellow card. Like the wingers are flying at you. Someone just to like put one in on them.
Yeah.
Like it just like old man dirty tactics. Just do something. But yeah, just naive. Absolutely naive. Dunk says team still gelling. Adam says Chelsea will have a game where it clicks. Hopefully, it's not Sunday.
I was thinking exactly that.
Damsky said Chelsea will be a good mark of where we're truly at. Alan said always said to two weaker squad to play all these games. Chambers, Traore, Dendonka take more windows yet. Sunday stops Sterling and we've won up the Villa. Gary says Jackson versus Torres to see who wins this one. Adamski says caught between two styles was bang on, Rich. That's exactly what it's looked like, which means we're not transitioning well like we were last season. Still a bit of time to go. Gary said, think that big gorilla scared us behind the goal. Adam said, do wish we brought in a backup right back. Don't like Chambers out there. We've outgrown him. Yeah. Hot Take Hyler says, Mings is a true leader. Where was McGinn? He looks a bit lost at the minute. And Stephen says, poor closing down again. Bailey and McGinn didn't do any closing down. Oh, well, I actually thought Bailey had a decent game, but for their second goal, he was poor at closing down. He turned his back, and that allowed them to play that long ball.
Do you think we were a bit intimidated by the atmosphere out there?
Maybe. Like I say, it was one of those. Maybe first game nerves, that kind of thing. But it needs someone to step up, doesn't it? Gary says, nice to see George out of that dark room.
Yeah, the lighting's not the best out there, is it?
Hot Take says 100% about Ashley Young will go down as Emery's first mistake. We need a Vinnie Jones, says Adamski. Adam said that third goal, everyone looked scared to make a tackle. 100%, absolutely. Adam says Chelsea have a lot of pace up top, which is a worry. So that was one thing yesterday about the pace up top. So obviously Chelsea have got Sterling, they've got Mudryk, and they've got Jackson at the moment who they're playing. Are you concerned about those players at the moment?
Yeah, to be fair, mate, I'm concerned about any away game at the minute because, as we've just said there, we're just not clicking and we haven't found any rhythm. But look, fair play, the Burnley one we played pretty well in, but otherwise we've just been completely overwhelmed in all the away games, and we've had sort of just complete disorganisation at the back. So yeah, I'm a bit concerned, to be fair. Chelsea, they're not the team they used to be, but there's a lot of individuals there, that have cost absolute fortunes. I was actually just going through the Chelsea squad before we come on. I mean, has there ever been an overhaul this big in one summer as what Chelsea have just done? I'm looking through that squad. I don't even know who half these players are. I know they've cost an absolute bomb, but all the experience is just out the window, isn't it? And it's almost they've just ripped it up and started again. And they've got a top manager now in Pochettino, and they are bound to come good, as the comment just said. Let's just hope it ain't this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Mudryk hasn't really caught fire yet. Fernandez has played pretty well. Conor Gallagher's was their captain last week. It seems like Thiago Silva's their only real experience. They drew 0-0 last week at Bournemouth. Robert Sanchez in goal got their man of the match, but their bench. I know they've got a lot of injuries. I think Broha it could be coming back for Sunday.
He had a bad one, didn't he?
Yeah, and Kunku's still injured. Cucurella maybe could be back, but he's not really been playing. Caicedo could be back. Obviously, Reece James is out. Madueke's out. Lavia's out. Fofana's out. So there's quite
Some
a few
injury list,
players.
Rich.
Yeah, they've got loads. They've got loads of injuries. So their bench, I mean, they had Cole Palmer on the bench and Ben Chilwell on the bench. Other than that, I couldn't tell you who their players were. They had 2 goalkeepers on the bench, and they had youth players, I think. Like so, their first 11 is pretty decent, and they obviously play some good football. But as a lot of the comments have been saying, it's a team that we shouldn't be going in fear of. But will be a team that will probably have a set way of playing and a set style similar to us, and I guess it's whichever one come in the cliche, whichever one comes out on top in terms of the style.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what we really need to do is stop conceding away within about 10 minutes. It literally, we concede that first goal away, and you kind of know it's over, didn't you? It feels like it is anyway. It completely sort of, you can see the confidence just sapping out of our defence when we concede that early goal, which is why I was saying a minute ago, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing in going back to basics and trying to just stop the other team scoring, even if it's to nick a 0-0 there. That wouldn't be the end of the world to me. Obviously, I want to win the game, but we do need to stop shipping these goals away from home.
Yeah, I mean, how many is it that we've conceded away from home? It's crazy, isn't it?
11. That's 11 in
I mean,
3 straight away.
bloody hell! Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous at the moment. I mean, yeah, we conceded 10 goals in the Premier League so far. Obviously, 5 against Newcastle away, 1 against Burnley away, 3 against Liverpool away. I mean, it's ridiculous at the moment. Yeah, it's shocking. Gary said we can't let Mudryk score. Gary also agrees with you. We just have to stop conceding early in away games. Set pieces as well. Like some of the goals we conceded off corners, like have been so embarrassing. The one that Salah scored for Liverpool, just we need to tighten up there as well. Steve 24/7. That Chelsea crowd is ready to turn. We've got to get at them early.
Yeah.
2 teams who have confidence issues are either going to draw and carry on or win and kickstart their season. Well, I mean, if we win, we go on to 12 points, which is pretty good. Like we'll go to back to 2 points per game average, which is very good.
It's good because our home form's decent, isn't it? That's the only good
Yeah.
thing. Even though we've been a bit poor away from home, we're not letting it affect our home games. We're still winning the home games. So, we ain't doing too bad, really.
Yeah. Alan said we need to get at Jackson. He's already got 4 yellow cards up the Villa. And AVFC US, who's in the house, says we win, puts us in the top 4. So it's definitely all to play for. We'll get starting lineups in a second. We'll go through our predicted lineups, but obviously we saw Jacob Ramsey come on yesterday. Probably should have scored, which was a good sign that he came back. Probably needed a little bit more sharpness. And obviously Alex Moreno as well back on the bench. Not going to give any hints to our starting lineups, but could you see any of those two, sort of pushing for a start now?
Well, I don't know because it's hard. They've both been out for a good while now. But I'll tell you one thing: we've missed them both really, really badly, and both would sail back into the team if you ask me. Yeah, so if they are fit enough, then I'd be tempted to start the pair of them myself. Luca Dean has been a funny one because going forward he's been great. Against the poorer sides, his assists must be up to about 4 or 5 already, I reckon, this season. And in Europe, he scored yesterday, even though he was at fault for 1, if not 2 of the goals. But he's not Moreno. Moreno is just a different level from Dean, as far as I'm concerned, defensive and attacking. And Moreno's he's the first choice all day long for me. So get him in.
I totally agree. I mean, I think if he's fit, or if he's close to 100% fit, he's got to come in. I know Dean has done well, played numerous games, but I think that speed as well that Moreno's got, and obviously against say a Sterling or a Mudryk, who's really going to be going to be helpful.
Like you always say, Rich, it's they get us up the field, don't they? Both of them, Moreno and Ramsey, both up that left side. We've been so vulnerable there without them.
Yeah, it gives you so much, you know, so much territory, so much more options. It stops them from thinking that they can attack as well. So it's it would be good to have them in. We've got so Adam said, who do we drop if Ramsey comes in? Is it McGinn who comes out? Now, I actually wanted to make a point on McGinn because this is coming round again, and I think Everton game he was phenomenal. I thought he had a great game, Everton at home, and I think he was good against maybe Burnley as well. But like Liverpool away, he was very quiet. Newcastle away, he was quiet. Yesterday, he was very quiet. I mean, he's the captain of the side, and is it getting to this stage again where he's not guaranteed his spot in the team?
Yeah, maybe it's difficult. I mean, it's similar to Watkins, really. We've had both of them a long while now. We know that they have their patches where they're brilliant and they drop off. We know the level of player they are. Sometimes for 4 or 5 weeks, you might think, Jesus Christ, they're at a new level. But slowly but surely, Watkins has dropped back off, hasn't he? McGinn's now dropping back off a little bit. But at the start of the season, we were all saying, this is what we want. We want competition for places and not players, knowing they're going to play. We've got decent options in central midfield now. So, if he has to come out of the team for a bit, so be it.
Yeah, it's just that captain side of things for me. It's like Martinez at the moment is probably obviously the one who's guaranteed to start. It's difficult having a goalkeeper as captain, but
well, you've got Konza there, haven't you? Konza's
maybe so.
Experienced head now in our defence, so he could always take that role on.
Potentially. I just think McGinn. Yeah, I think you bang on. He's either. I think Adam mentioned it before. He's either brilliant or goes missing, and that's the thing. Like if the games where he wants it to be and it's a bit of a battle, and he knows the players marking him close, he can do those bustling runs. He's brilliant, but just yesterday he looked lost, and some of the games against those top teams, he's just not got involved. I don't think he's even had many shots. So yeah, it's just a bit of a conundrum. Barry says Moreno in for me, Dina, and ball watching is a nightmare.
Yeah, 100%.
Richo, Everton fan, good evening. Fear for my beloved Everton FC this season. It's definitely going to be a tough one.
What they got, Rich? A point?
Yes.
Everton?
Yeah, they've got Brentford tomorrow evening.
That's not no easy game either.
No. Hot take says Moreno over Dina all day. Duncan said Ramsey in at left wing, McGinn on the bench. McGinn should not be captain, he says. Weston says McGinn starting to play like he was under Gerrard. Hit the like button, everyone. I think we got almost 30 of you watching on a Friday night, which is great. But yeah, I think there was only 14 likes. So yeah, guys, if you haven't hit the like button yet, please do help us spread the word. Gary said can't really play Zaniolo and Bailey together again. That was my only concern versus Legia pre-game. Well, we'll get into starting lineups. Dunk says Zaniolo starts away, Bailey at home.
Yeah, he's called it.
And Alan said, great show, allows you to talk a lot of truthful sense. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Glad you enjoy it. Don't even remember McGinn putting in a crunching tackle so far, says Stephen. Yeah, it's just a strange one. But I did want to come back. Duncan said he would start Duran versus Chelsea. Now, obviously, he's scored 4 goals this season in all competitions. He scored different types of goals as well, like screamers, headers. Nipping in and slotting it past the keeper. He's sort of playing with no fear at the moment. What do you think? Would you go for a Duran over a Watkins at the minute?
Well, yeah. Firstly, I love that header yesterday. I mean, God, he must have some neck on him. But he sort of really sprung his head back, didn't he, and got on that. I didn't really think he had any right to get that one, but yeah, it was a great goal. Yeah, and he's confident and he's doing well. As for starting this one, I don't know. I mean, has he got the discipline yet to do a 90-minute big Premier League game like this? I quite like sort of the impact sub thing. Come on, 60, 70 minutes, however long, and try and get your goals. I mean, the game's 100 and God, however many minutes it is now. There's plenty of time for him to come on. I think you start the game with Watkins because that's our system and everyone knows what they're doing. So I wouldn't be starting him just yet. It's a lot of pressure for a young kid. So I just keep him coming off the bench at the minute.
Yeah, he's definitely got that fire in his belly and that kind of freedom to play. Whether he would do that from the start, Duncan said he reminds him of Daly and Atkinson. But Weston said Watkins plays well against Chelsea. So get your starting lineups in. We'll go over a couple of our predicted lineups. So I'll go with mine first. You notice that we're using an app called Fan Hub, and there'll be more on that next week, guys. So keep watching and keep your eyes peeled for some little information about this app, which is really good. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. But I've gone for Emi Martinez in goal. I've gone for Cash, Konsa, Torres, and I've gone for Moreno at the back. Kamara and Luiz still in the midfield. I don't think Tielemans did enough, but as I say, question marks over Kamara at the minute. I think McGinn will play, and I've put Zaniolo in there again for a away from home effect. And I think Bailey maybe could come on and when they're a little bit more tired, and then Diaby and Watkins up front. That's what I've gone for. You went for you've gone for Martinez in goal. You've gone for Cash, Konsa, Torres, and Moreno again, same as me. Kamara, Luiz, and then McGinn, Diaby. You've gone for Ramsey. So Ramsey instead of Zaniolo and Ollie Watkins up top. And you kind of said that before. You know, Moreno and Ramsey can give you that kind of territory, can't they?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that side I've put up there, that was more out of hope than what I think he
Yeah,
will
yeah,
probably
yeah,
do. You know, as we mentioned, they've both been out a long time, and to have them both playing on the same side straight after an injury is probably a bit risky, and he probably won't do that. But yeah, I'd love to see that.
Absolutely, and I've got Max's up instead of. I don't want to put everyone in the chat Villa Park Pod chat up, but he's gone for Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Torres, and Digne, McGinn, Luiz, Kamara, Diaby, Watkins, and Zaniolo. So we're all fairly similar on our lineups. But I just think he's been waiting for Moreno to come back, and if there's any sign that he is close to fully fit, I think he plays him. I really do. So let's get in the comments and see what everyone else is saying. Adamski, I don't know which lineup he's saying, but that is a decent lineup. Must be mine. Gary said Watkins' work rate is the only thing keeping him in the team at the minute. Duran can't do that yet. Yeah, he does get a bit tired. Dunk said Moreno's name on the team already gives you confidence. Hot Take Hyler says Watkins is a 10 and Diaby on the wing behind Duran. It's a bit mad, but who knows? Barry said agree with me, though Bailey over Zaniolo for me. I mean, I do actually think Bailey's, I think he was one of the bright sparks of last night, and he seems to have. Obviously, we know he's got that link up with Diaby.
That's definitely helped him.
But he seems to be able to take people on. Like he nearly scored right at the end, and he took the ball really well off Tielemans and went round a couple of players. So maybe he does go with Bailey, but I think I'll go with the physicality of Zaniolo at the moment, away from home, and then, as I say, bring Bailey on later. Gary says Watkins work rate. Yeah, we've got covered that just before. AVFC US says Bailey, Ramsey, and Duran sub on. Dunk said, why not play Watkins at left wing over McGinn? I just don't see him doing it. He probably would have done it before. Zaniolo
played wide though at Brentford, didn't he, Watkins?
He did, but he ain't going to do it now, is he? He's just not going to do it. Both putting McGinn on the right. Yeah, I mean, maybe he switches sides, maybe he does, but he has liked him playing off the right.
He's been better on the right though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Since he's moved out of centre.
Yeah. Gary said maybe do a Joe Linton with Watkins moving to a midfield role. His control isn't good enough. Nah. Both of our lineups were good. So I guess the good thing is he's got options, and also the bench. Whoever he starts, the bench is strong with those options. So none of us have put Tielemans in there. That's Tielemans. He's off the bench. Obviously Ramsey, if he doesn't start, comes off the bench. Bailey, if he doesn't start, comes off the bench. Or Zaniolo comes off the bench. Duran comes off the bench. I mean, you've got to be fairly happy with those options coming off the bench.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's really good depth. As good depth as I remember Villa having, to be honest, going back to God, however long. Yeah, if anything's going to win us the game, it will be our squad. I think, as I've said, I was looking at the Chelsea squad, and there's a lot more sort of experience and know-how in ours, whether it's the starting lineup or whether it's the subs coming on later in the game to change things. So yeah, it's good times.
Exactly. Dunk said Bailey coming back in form. To be fair, now he has his old buddy Diaby in. And Adamski agrees the right for McGinn is the best position for him. Dunk says he thinks the number 10 is potentially his best position though. So yeah, it's a bit of a debate on McGinn. I just think wherever he can get involved, like we've got to give him options on the ball and get him involved where he can, receive that ball and turn a man and get running. Gary said the only problem I see is the centre back partnership, and unfortunately they take time to settle.
Yeah.
Torres and Conte seems like the one. Carlos could be back fit. But again, it is a slight concern. I mean, on the ball, I think Torres is fantastic, and Conte's getting better. But with that pace, that's why I think Moreno comes in, because I just think we'd really struggle without that. Cash and Moreno have got fairly decent pace. I think we'd struggle if we didn't have those fullbacks who could maybe get on the cover for those centre backs.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of thinking about Pau Torres this afternoon actually, and I was like, I like watching him. He's a lovely footballer, and he's got all the culture. But I was sort of thinking to myself, he's 26 years old, and he's only just come out of Villarreal now, and people are talking about him being like Paolo Maldini. And I'm thinking, there's obviously a reason why no one's touched him all this time. And I'm not saying he's shit at all, because I don't. I really do like him. But at the end of the day, he's a central defender, and central defenders need to be able to defend. And what I see at the moment is he's cost us what 3-4 goals already this season. Direct mistakes from him, or he's been the last man or the man closest, and has been out bullied. He's been outpaced. So I think it's a bit of a concern. I mean, in like the games against the lower sides at home, especially like who was it we beat? Yeah, we beat Palace last week and Everton. He looks lovely when he's got a bit of time on the ball and we're dictating things and controlling the game. But when you've got away from home and you've got fast teams running at you, I mean, yesterday I think he would have struggled as well if he'd have started that game. He just looks a bit suspect, and I'm just not sure we've got enough to cover him at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. But hopefully he grows into the season. But yes, Sterling. Adam says Sterling, Power, and Highline sounds terrifying. Moreno in. Dunk says Torres, Carlos, Conte as the back three is our future. Power is a sweeper. Dunk says Torres is quality, but the Highline doesn't suit him.
Yeah.
Just Mings over Torres definitely.
Barry says Emery both if they were fit, mate. Do you reckon? I know we was having a little chat earlier.
Possibly. It's just I honestly think he'd have played Conte and Mings in the Prem.
Yeah.
And played Torres in Europe, and like eased him in. I think he's had to rush Torres through.
Yeah, quite well, because he didn't play last. He didn't play in the Europe last night, did he? So
no, he didn't actually. But I think he probably thought I've got to give Longley a run out. But I think he probably will say to himself he got it wrong yesterday. I think maybe the home, we've got Everton at home in the Carabao Cup next week. You can give them a run out then, and then you've got that Bosnian team at home in the Conference League the week after. You can give those guys a run out then. I think you just get off to a decent start, albeit we probably could have sneaked a draw out of it, yesterday. But it is what it is. Emery will stick with Torres, offers the best option to progress the ball, definitely. And last weekend's performance on the ball was great. But yeah, Stephen says we all knew Torres can't head the ball. Dunk said Mings and Torres would start in a back three. Then with the wing backs, the injuries have ruined that. Money should have been spent elsewhere, but hopefully Power improves. Yeah. Let's have a little look at the stats in terms of this fixture, and then we'll go on to finish up with our score predictions. But in terms of In terms of our head-to-head against Chelsea, so we've played each other 59 times in the Prem. Chelsea winning 30, Villa only winning 15 of those games and 14 draws. We've won 9 games at home against them. We've won 6 away, and Chelsea won 16 of home games against us. Last season was obviously a great performance and part of our phenomenal run where we beat them 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. And we also beat them 1-0 and I believe that was it a friendly over the yes, it was friendly in the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi. We lost 2-0 to them at Villa Park under Steven Gerrard earlier on in the season last year.
Battered them and lost 2-0.
Yeah, it was when Mason Mount, I think Mings made a mistake, and I think Martinez made a mistake, which was a shame. But we think we had a decent performance that game actually.
Yeah.
Season previous to that, we lost 3-1 at Villa Park and Boxing Day, and then also drew 1-1 earlier on that season as well. So mixed results, and I remember us beating them 2-1 in the final game of the lockdown season.
Yeah.
I think it was Grealish's last game for us, wasn't it? So we've had some decent results against them, always fairly tight games. They do like to attack, obviously, at Stamford Bridge. We did have to ride our luck a little bit last season, but like you said, we controlled the game after we went 2-0 up. In terms of recent form, obviously Chelsea only beating Luton so far this season, 3-0 in the Premier League. They've lost to West Ham, they've lost to Forest, and drew against Bournemouth. They beat AFC Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup 2-1. Villa in the Premier League, 3 wins from the last 4 games. Obviously, the heavy defeat to Liverpool, and then last night's defeat at Legia Warsaw. So we haven't got too bad a form. We score goals, which is a positive. And Chelsea, haven't scored too many goals so far this season. Obviously, getting 3 against Luton was a decent result, but before that, only 1 against West Ham in the Prem, and none against Forest and none against Bournemouth. So struggling to score at the moment. They're currently in 14th position, 1-1, drawn 2, lost 2, averaging 1 goal per game, whereas Villa are averaging 2.2 goals a game. This is the tricky one here. We're conceding 2 goals per game at the moment, which is not great. And we've only had 1 clean sheet this season. Chelsea creating more chances than us with 2.4, so being very, very wasteful with their chances. So it's going to be, I think it's like I think someone else said, a game where, whoever wins will really kickstart on their season. It'll be a big result for whoever wins. So yeah, I guess, what are your thoughts before I get your score prediction? What are your thoughts on kind of how Villa should approach this game?
Well, that's a good question. I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I mean, as I said before, I think we need to concentrate on stop conceding away, which means, do we go a bit more defensive and a bit more sit in and try and hit Chelsea maybe on the break or hit them later in the game? Or do we do, as one of the comments said earlier, get into them early, as their fans are sort of, I think he's right what he said, that the fans are on the verge of turning again, because they've struggled last year, and fair play to the Chelsea fans, they were quite patient with it last year, but now they've just spent about £20 billion. They've got Mauricio Pochettino, they've got a brand new owner, and they haven't really started very well. And I don't think any Chelsea fan expected a start like this. So do you go steaming in at them for the first 20 minutes and try and get a lead, and just try and blow them out of the water? But I'm not sure which way he's going to go. But I would probably go for the more defensive route myself. I don't know. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I've been really concerned with this really high line.
Yeah.
And I think Sterling, Mudryk, and Jackson can really exploit that, particularly as Fernandez is a good passer of the ball. Gallagher likes to run from deep as well. So I would hope that he might make a slight adjustment and maybe not play such a high line. Maybe just drop us back 5-10 yards a little bit,
Yeah, like that.
and then kind of be a bit more compact, a bit more solid, and then kind of take the game from there. And then I think the substitutions are going to be key in this game. I think if you can bring on the likes of Bailey, Ramsey, Duran, I think you can have real joy later on in the game. So I don't think there's any I think the value is is biding our time a little bit,
Yeah.
sussing them out, see what they've got, and then kind of winning the game later on. I don't, like you said, I don't think there's too much value in trying to chase it too early.
No,
But
because if we concede
we'll
early
obviously see.
again, the heads are going to drop, aren't they?
Exactly, and Chelsea will get, Chelsea get their tails up, and then
Yeah.
they'll start pinging the ball about. You can imagine those young players, if they get going, they'll be rampant. But if you can frustrate them, then you can start to take control of the game. So yeah. A few comments coming in. Gary says a big week this week, lose the next two, and it's trouble. Yes, it always feels like crunch time. Steve says Chelsea games from October onwards are so tough. 7 top teams in a row, so they'd be potentially looking to get a result against us.
A lot of home games there, though, isn't there, for us coming up?
Yeah. Adam says 1 clean sheet so far is awful. Absolutely. Apparently, they've statistically had the easiest fixtures. Adamski thinks we should go at them hard from the first whistle. Dunk says we need to reduce the high line and hit on the break. There we go. Adam said I can see this result going either way. Can't predict this one. Well, I'm going to ask for them in a minute. We've already got some predictions coming in. Let's go for it. George, what are you saying for score prediction for tomorrow? For Sunday.
Well, I'll have to tell you boys
And
something.
scorers.
Tell you boys and girls something. Yeah, you're not going to like this, but this is no joke. I've been to Stamford Bridge, I reckon, 10 times, and I've seen 10 defeats. Literally, last year I had a ticket, couldn't go, sold my ticket, and we won 2-0, which is absolutely typical. But honestly, I've seen us lose 7s, 5s, 4s. I've seen some absolute spankings at Stamford Bridge, even the tight games where we've just been edged out 2-1, 1-0. Seen us knocked out of the cup a couple of times. So, I'm sick of losing at Chelsea. So I'd really, really like my luck to change. But as for a prediction, I reckon I could see this one being a draw because I don't think either side are quite sure of themselves at the moment. So I reckon this could be a 2-2 draw.
Who's scoring for us?
I'll go for Watkins to finally get off the mark, and I'll go for a Leon Bailey off the bench.
A Leon Bailey away goal.
Yeah, it'd be rare, wouldn't it?
So some loads of score predictions coming in. Gary said 3-1 Chelsea if we play like we have been away. Richo63, Everton fan who loves tuning in. Thank you so much, mate. 2-1 Villa he's going for. Dunk said I'll go for a Villa win. They're nothing special, but we can't play the high line. Dunk says 2-0 Villa. But Gary also said 2-1 to us if we tighten up. Stephen gone with the same as you, 2-2. Steve 24/7 says 3-1 to us, which would be a great win. Anglo-Saxon says Chelsea need a win, so they will be coming at us 100%. Oh, they'll definitely will. They definitely will. Barry Diablo says Emery masterclass incoming tomorrow, 2-0 Villa.
Love to see that.
Let's hope so. And Zaniolo to get off the mark says Adamski. Steve saying, don't go, George. Actually, before I give my score prediction, I did have a question from Adam, and I think one of the other comments alluded to it. But if we do lose, should we be a little bit concerned about kind of the form and the season?
I don't think we can really get that sort of up and above ourselves. I mean, we're 7th in the league at the minute. If we were to lose, what is it, 1-3, lost 3? We've seen some crises, haven't we, over the years, and I wouldn't say this is one. So no, I'd relax just now.
Yeah. I think we've got, is it Brighton at home the next league game, then Wolves away the next league game. So yeah, I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. And the games are coming thick and fast. So you then take, Everton, Carabao Cup, even a win in that can get you can kind of build that confidence up. So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned. I think what I'm more concerned about is the organisation and the performance. That's what I'm looking for.
I want to see
think
a damn sight better effort than we did last night as well.
Yeah, Everton we played well. Burnley we played well, but we probably didn't have to get out of. Well, we certainly didn't have to get out of first gear for Everton. Second gear probably for Burnley. But the other games, I've been really concerned about how easy we have been to get played through. Obviously, Crystal Palace was one of those games where the players, like Emery said, they played with the heart, so they just went for it. But yeah, when we've set up the way that we want to set up, we've just been really I've been concerned about how we've been just so easy to get through. And I think he's just got to find that right balance with who he's playing and how he wants them to play.
I'll just go back to the tried and tested what he did when he first come in. I know it's easier said than done, just keep winning, but it was working. We had a sort of a tactic away from home, and he seems to have gone away from it.
Yeah, exactly. CC has said, George, we will pay you to stay in the local pub.
we'll talk about money after the show.
Dunk said, too early to be worrying over the league position yet.
Yeah.
And CC again, way too early to be worried. It's part of our journey. Sometimes you have to hit some obstacles to learn and grow. Barry says, any fans on Emery's case need only think back to Gerrard to get a reality check.
100%.
Exactly. Dunk said, we are Brighton's #1 bogey side and we'll thrash Wolves. West Ham at home is the banana skin.
Yeah, we never beat them at home, do we? Never beat them full stop.
Yeah. Gary said, the Irish guy says Emery will leave after one season and go to Real Madrid. We'll be in the Ancelotti-Everton dilemma then. Ooh, I hope not.
That's been our fear, though, hasn't it, ever since he came?
Yeah. My concern is we don't seem to be able to handle a press. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I say, the game is going to be really interesting. I'm fairly confident. I think we'll win 2-1. And I'm going to say Watkins, again, will get off the mark. And I think Diaby will score as well. I think Musa will score. So, yeah, Watkins and Diaby, 2-1 win for the Villa. And, get us. I think it might get us in the top 6. I don't think it'll quite get us in the top 4. Will get us in the top 6. I think AVFC US corrected himself. But, yeah, brilliant. Hopefully we get the win. There's been loads of content this week, guys. It's been really busy and it's going to come thick and fast. So do make sure that you are liking the videos, helping us spread the word of the channel. You're subscribing. I've been checking. We haven't hit the 2,400 yet, but please help us. We're literally 2 subscribers away from 2,400. So if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. Help us out on social media, guys. I know we've got so many of you who watch every week. Give us some shout outs on social media. Just help spread the word of the channel. The support you give us is amazing, but that'd be amazing if you could shout us out every now and again. That'd be brilliant. George, thank you so much for your time, mate. It's been a really good show. Thank you for everyone watching. Hopefully we get the result on Sunday. We'll be back for match reaction Sunday night, fans forum Monday night. So anything you want to talk about that isn't related to the game, off the pitch issues, kit issues, anything that you want to talk about, bring it to the fans forum on Monday nights. But yeah, off to Stamford Bridge on Sunday, George. Hopefully you're a lucky charm this time round. And as always, everyone remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks all.
Up and running, and Villa Pub is loud.